Good morning, Guardians. My name is the Black Link, and today is the day Destiny 2 Update 2.0.4 has dropped, and oh man, is it going to be a busy week. All kinds of things are happening this week. We've got the Festival of the Lost starting. We have got the return of the Iron Banner. We're going to have a double Valor week in Quick Play, and then a triple Valor weekend this week. The curse is going to be back at its maximum, so a lot of people are going to be playing Gambit, trying to get their malfeasance. Oh, the Shattered Throne is also returning this week. There's so many different things going on, but it starts with patch 2.0.4, which is bringing us a bunch of new content to the game. And of course, alongside those some patch notes have dropped, so we're going to be going over those patch notes almost in their entirety in this video. This is going to be probably kind of a long one, so you may just want to put it on in the background as a bit of a podcast if you want to listen to some of the patch notes that we're getting with today's big update. So now that you know what you're in for, let's go ahead and dive on into unpacking Destiny 2 Update 2.0.4. First up are the sandbox changes. For abilities, we've got some big ones coming. For Titans, now throwing hammers can be picked up only if your throwing hammer ability is not fully charged. This is for the Solar Titan class that can kind of throw their hammers and go pick it up. They've also fixed an issue in which Burning Maul Slam Attack was unintentionally triggering melee-based perks. Banner Shield can now no longer be over-penetrated by weapons with perks such as armor-piercing rounds. That's actually kind of interesting. I thought that was by design. I didn't realize that guns with APR rounds penetrating that shield, I didn't realize that wasn't intended. It's kind of like way back in year 1 of D1 where you could use APRs to just burst walls in game modes like Control. And finally, resupply can now also benefit allies behind obstacles. So geometry is no longer going to block your ability to resupply with Titan abilities. Alright, for Hunters, they fixed an issue in which Kill Clip would not trigger if players reloaded their weapon using Marksman's Dodge while having the Dragon Shadow exotic chest piece equipped. Only real big change that Hunters are getting this time around. Alright, for Warlocks, we've got quite a few things to go over here. They fixed an issue where Healing Rift and Well of Radiance could prevent weapon perks such as White Nail and Magnificent Howl from working properly. If you've got the Whisper of the Worm, this is definitely something you've noticed. It wasn't really a bug so much as the exotic working as intended. When, of course, you're in a well with or any sort of rift with the Lunafaction boots on, you're constantly getting your ammo back, which would interrupt the ability for the White Nail. So it looks like they finally created a fix for that, but they gave us a note here. This introduced a bug where White Nail may occasionally activate after 2 hits. This, of course, will be addressed in a future update. They fixed an issue where the handheld Supernova perk could deal damage to allies. They've also fixed an issue where handheld Supernova kills would sometimes appear as killed by the Architects in the obituary, and where the ability was inconsistent in triggering the Dark Matter perk. Some good changes there. Players will no longer be able to perform the Atomic Breach melee ability when using the heavy attack of the Escalation Protocol sword. That was a really odd glitch. Didn't see too many people complaining about it, but it was definitely there. They fixed an issue in which using the Phoenix Protocol exotic chest with Well of Radiance could result in weapons not rendering correctly. This is something that Nim and I actually ran into while running Blindwell the other day. We were trying to figure out why exactly his gun disappeared. I thought it might be, an interesting little glitch you could pull off to get some good screenshots of the game in no HUD mode. Kinda sad to see that one go, as a matter of fact. Next up, casting Chaos Reach with your back up against the wall will no longer block the beam. This is something I personally have definitely experienced. Glad they're changing that. And they fixed an issue in which Chaos Reach was dealing less damage at lower frame rates. As a result, players may now notice an increase in total damage output. And that's pretty much it for the changes with Warlocks. Next up, armor changes. Lucky Pants will no longer reload hand cannons that are not stowed. They fixed an issue where ammo scavenger perks would give certain weapons less ammo than intended, and the Prodigal Grasp and Dragonfly Regalia Grasps will no longer block players' view when they're using a bow. That's definitely something annoying that I experience with them. It's one of the reasons why I don't use the Dragonfly Eververse armor set. So glad to see that's going to be seeing a change. Alright, next up, we've got some big weapon changes, and this is where a lot of Guardians are going to be really interested because we've been waiting, in particular, for Scout Rifles to get a buff. Well, it's finally happened. They have increased Scout Rifle damage against combatants in PvE. They've also repositioned the scope on the Fighting Lion's Lupus Visage ornament for better visibility while players are aiming down sights. They've decreased Fighting Lion damage to be brought in line with other breach load grenade launchers though, which makes me sad. Fighting Lions is like one of those hidden gems in PvP right now. And it was also really good in PvE because of that extra damage that it has, so I'm a little sad to see that it's getting a little bit of a nerf with the damage output there. They finally reduced the aim assist on the Sleeper Simulant. You're going to be seeing this a lot this week with the curse being at maximum and the Primeval boss spawning more often. This is definitely a change that a lot of players have been asking and waiting for quite some time, so there you go. Aim assist on Sleeper Simulant has been reduced, but paradoxically, they've also buffed aim assist on linear fusion rifles, not including the Sleeper Simulant. So Sleeper is getting a little harder to use, other linear fusions are getting a little easier to use. I wonder if that includes the Queenbreaker. That thing's got a lot of aim assist on it already. Next, they fixed an issue where Dynamic Sway Reduction and Zen Moment perks would not function properly when combined with Lunafaction Boots or Rally Barricade. Then they fixed an issue where the Taken Spec mod description was displayed twice in weapon tooltips. They've also fixed an issue where the Between Breaths ornaments for Whisper of the Worm could not display properly, and the charge bar on compound bows now fills in 2 stages to directly reflect the 2 stages of the draw animation. Next up, they fixed an issue where visual effects on some weapons were sometimes still visible next to a character using super abilities. They fixed an issue where being shot by an allied guardian's Telesto could result in a crash. I saw some people complaining about that. Don't go turning your fellow guardians into Telesto bombs, I guess. They fixed an issue where 1,000 voices would sometimes speak at the volume of 100,000 voices. If you've ever seen or used that thing, you know, sometimes it can screech at you. It's a little shocking. So I'm glad they're toning that down just a little bit. Next up, they fixed an issue where bows were not equipped properly when characters were sprinting. They fixed an issue where the Badlander shotgun was missing reload audio, and they've updated the ATX Rex Haka sight to align with other weapon scopes. Almost done now. They fixed an issue where parts of the Borealis did not display the correct element, and they fixed excessive perk activation audio for Redrix's Broadsword when players activated the Desperado perk. Next up, they fixed excessive perk audio for Trinity Ghoul's Lightning Rod perk when the weapon was stowed, and they've updated the draw animation on Trinity Ghoul. Finally, they've updated the description of Ionic Return on Borealis to more accurately reflect its bonus damage behavior. There we go, that is it for some of the big weapon changes in the Sandbox update for update 2.0.4. Next up, we've got some general Gambit changes. Again, this is going to be pretty important for this week in particular. First up, they fixed an issue where Gambit clan engrams were not functioning properly. They've also fixed an issue where shield walls would not spawn at the beginning of a match. You've probably seen some clips of people getting stuck up with the drifter or just like left in the teleporter room. I imagine that has something to do with that. They fixed an issue where matchmaking for Gambit would sometimes take longer than intended, sometimes resulting in players being removed from the match. And of course, Gambit quitter penalties have been re-enabled in the playlist. Finally, they fixed an issue where the invasion portal would sometimes not open throughout the match. That was a huge problem that was going on. I know personally it's happened to me a couple of times. And with this week being the big Primeval week again, it's really important that they got that fixed because this week there's going to be a lot of people trying to get their Malfeasance quest done. So I'm glad they finally got that out of the way. Alright, next up, the changes coming to Crucible. With the Iron Banner, they've of course fixed an issue where the Iron Engram displayed a higher power level than intended. They fixed an issue where Iron Banner token rewards from matches were doubled. All Iron Banner bounties will now reward powerful gear, and Iron Banner bounty requirements have of course been reduced across the board. The Lightbearer bounty super kills have been reduced from 25 to 20. For Iron in the Blood, match completions were reduced to 15 from 30. For Shine On, orbs generated were reduced to 50 from 100. For Iron Victory, match wins were reduced to 7 from 10. For to be precise, precision kills were reduced from 100 to 50. And finally, with all in a week's work, kills were reduced from 250 to 150. All this was done so that you could complete the bounties a bit quicker and not spend your entire week playing one character in Iron Banner. Good changes. Also important to note that all of those bounties drop powerful gear now. Very happy about that. Next up, they fixed an issue where the kill feed would no longer display under certain circumstances. Capture zone waypoints no longer pulse when progress state changes or when in a power play in Iron Banner, and they fixed an issue that prevented audio cues from playing when players were revived in Countdown. For medals and Breakthrough, they fixed an issue where the Quick Strike medal could be awarded for a short time after deploying the Breaker. They fixed an issue where the Survival medal Lone Gun was firing for all players when running around, and they corrected an issue where the Perimeter Control medal in Control did not properly replace the deprecated I Live Here Now medal. Finally, we've got some changes coming to the seasonal quest for Crucible. This is the stuff for the Redrix's Broadsword as well as the Luna's Howl. They've updated the quest step, the Candidate, and Forging the Broadsword to have new requirements. In the Crucible, rapidly defeat opponents in groups of 2 or more. This was the multi-kill requirement for that quest. This step will now track individual players defeated in a multi-kill instead of counting only double play medals. Before, triple play rewarded +1 progress for 1 double play. Now, triple play will award +2 progress for double play and +1 for triple play. Alright, moving on, we've got the items and economy changes. Here are the general changes. They fixed an issue where powerful gear could sometimes drop at the same power level as a character or below. That's important. They've raised the low end of powerful gear, which slightly increases the average power upgrade per powerful drop. And of course, we've got a change to the world drop pool. Edge Transit's going to have some company. They've added Through Fire and Flood, the Zenobia D, and the Crooked Fang 4FR to the World Legendary pool. This is to make it so that you don't get quite as many Edge Transits. You're going to have some other heavy weapons that you should be able to pick up. They've also fixed an issue where Prime engrams were going straight to the Postmaster at the end of Crucible matches. They'll now show alongside the other end of match rewards. They fixed an issue where the Cataloger emblem was repeatedly sent to the Postmaster for some players. They've also fixed an issue where the offering to the Oracle was not being properly consumed and used for some players. They were getting, I guess, bonus rewards. A little jealous of that. They fixed an issue where the Last Wish Ghost and Sparrow were not dropping at the intended drop rates. And finally, they fixed an issue where some weapons did not dismantle into the proper materials. Moving on to the triumphs, they've removed the Trace Rifle Mastery Crucible Triumph for all players on all platforms. However, they've added triumphs for completing exotic badges and collections. The Trusted Right Hand Triumph is now possible to complete. It no longer requires more weekly bounties than are available in a week. That was a bit of a head scratcher if you went and looked at it in the triumph list. So that should no longer be hanging up any of you chroniclers who are trying to get all of your triumphs done. Triumphs to find all Ascendant chests in the Dreaming City no longer lose progress on the weekly reset if players have completed it, but not yet claimed them. This is another really important one. A lot of players found that super frustrating that they would be losing progress on their triumphs towards the Ascendant challenge. So I'm glad they finally got that fixed. Alright, next up for collections. Transmat effects have been added to collections under the Flare category. Transmat effects gained, used, or dismantled after September 4th, 2018 will be unlocked in collections. And transmat effects are unlocked when added to player inventory, not when gaining ships that have them pre-socketed. So you'll actually have to get it as a drop from your Eververse packages or whatever, rather than just getting a ship that has it. This is another important one. A lot of people were looking to have transmat effects move to the collections tab, so I'm glad Bungie finally made that decision. They've added event ghosts to collections, so you can shard some of those event ghosts that you don't want anymore. They've added Forsaken emblem variants as well as missing emblems to the collections. And they've added some additional sources for the grenade launcher Through Fire and Flood, as we saw a little bit earlier in the patch notes. Alright, some changes coming to bounties. They fixed an issue where bounties could expire in a player's postmaster and cause weasel errors. Really interesting cause for that. They fixed an issue where Korean IGR bounties did not have an abandon option. And they've added a recovery state for players who abandon IGR bounties to acquire a weekly rotating IGR bounty for 250 Glimmer. This is more important for players who are playing the Korean version of the game, as those IGR bounties aren't available to anybody else. They've also fixed an issue where the Eververse bounty Rise to the Challenge did not have an abandon option, and players who abandon Rise to the Challenge will be able to recover it from Eververse for 250 Glimmer until the weekly reset. They're just giving players an extra opportunity to not get rid of the stuff that they might need. Alright, we got some general changes coming up. They fixed an issue where boosted players could not receive Destiny 2 achievements for the boosted class. Players will now receive the achievement when unlocking the first node of a new subclass. They fixed an issue where players could not receive credit for the Destiny 2 achievement for completing the weekly flashpoint. The Sturm quest will now increment when picking up legendary and exotic engrams. Pinnacle wanted bounties from the Spider will now complete for all members of the fire team. Bakken the Relentless can now be summoned in the Devalian Mists. If you don't know who Bakken the Relentless is, well, I don't really blame you. He's a hidden boss that you'll be able to summon within the Devalian Mists, much like Parati, whom you summon by standing in those circles of light that pop up every now and again near the gates that lead to the Blind Well. Either way, it looks like that hidden boss, along with the triumphs tied to him, will be popping up sometime this week, so pay attention to the Devalian Mist. You might just have a chance to take him down. They've also fixed an issue where the Blind Well could become locked if multiple players tried to activate it at once. And heroic completion of the Rift Generator public event now consistently grants the appropriate rewards and properly counts towards heroic public event completions. They've also fixed an issue where some players were unable to access the Strike playlist. And finally, they fixed an issue where enemies would not spawn during the Kali the Corrupted raid encounter. Alright Guardians, that is pretty much it for your patch notes when it comes to update 2.0.4. That's all of them. That's everything that is happening, at least everything that Bungie wants to tell us about in Update 2.0.4. Again, a lot of stuff is going down today, so make sure you're staying tuned. There's going to be videos covering Festival of the Lost, Iron Banner, the Shattered Throne quest once again, any new secrets that we discover, and of course the quests that are going to be tied to the event for this week. It's going to be a busy one, and I cannot wait for this update to go into effect. But alright Guardians, that is it for this one. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed, feel free to drop a like, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest stuff we're putting out. But I'm out for now. I gotta go get ready for the big update and all the videos we gotta make about it. As always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.